Let's take a look at the Unit 3 homework. This is all about sports vocabulary and how to make sentences using the verb and noun pattern. First, let's have a look at questions 1 to 6. At the top of the page, you can see it says, write the words according to their definitions. So this means we need to look at the meaning of these words and see if we can find what sport, what exercise are they talking about. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's look at the first one. So here we've got an exercise that is like stretching. Okay, so here we have to think what exercise is like stretching. So stretching, moving out your arms and your legs. So like when you're doing stretches. So if we think about it, what exercise is like stretching? Right, yoga is like stretching, isn't it? So when we do yoga, we stretch out, our arms and legs. So number one there, yoga is the answer. Okay, so let's look at the next one. So question 2, we've got a gap and the definition, moving the body to music. Okay, so we have to think what kind of exercise or movement do people do to music? So it could be classical music or disco music, but moving the body to music. So what kind of exercise or activity is this? So of course the answer there is dance. We dance to music. Okay, so let's go on to question 3. So here we have a gap and the definition, a sports game where a goal is scored when a player throws the ball into a hoop. A hoop is a kind of circle. So we mean a game where you throw a ball into a circle. So what game do we play throwing a ball into a circle? The sports game where we throw a ball into a hoop or circle is, of course, basketball. I play basketball by throwing a ball into a hoop. Okay, so now let's move on to question 4. Okay, so here the definition is a sports game where you hit a small ball across a table with the racket. Right, so a small ball and a racket, it might be tennis, but we have to play it on a table. So what game do we play on a table with a small ball and racket? Let's think about it. We should write table tennis. Table tennis is a game we play with a small ball and a racket across a table. Okay, so let's move on to question 5. Here we have the definition, an exercise that is good for your heart. So, what do we think they mean by good for your heart? I think they mean an exercise that is healthy for your heart. So what do we call an exercise that helps our heart be healthy? Let's think about it. So an exercise that is good for your heart, we can write cardio. So any exercise that is healthy, that is good for your heart, we can call it cardio. So here are some examples. Running on a treadmill is cardio. Riding on an exercise bike is cardio. And doing jump rope. Okay, so let's look at question 6, which is the last vocabulary question. So we've got a ball game for 2 teams of 6 players that hit a ball with their hands over a high net. Okay, so let's think, what game has 6 players on each team and they hit the ball with their hands over a net to score points? So let's think. Okay, so a ball game for 2 teams of 6 players that hit a ball with their hands over a high net. So this is called volleyball. Right, so number 6 there is volleyball. So now let's look at questions 7 to 15. So for questions 7 to 15, we need to complete the English sentences using proper grammar. Okay, we need to make these English sentences match the meaning of the Korean sentence on the left. So now let's look at questions 7 and 8. So this sentence, we've got they something, but they something baseball. Looking at the Korean sentence on the left, we can see that the parts missing from the English sentence have the same meaning as 다크를 즐기지만 and 좋아하지 않는다. So we have to think, what is the English equivalent of these Korean phrases? Okay, so therefore 다크를 즐기지만 in the English version we can say enjoy table tennis. Right? And then for number 8 then, for 좋아하지 않는다 in the English version we can say don't like. And here the subject is they, right? They, 그들. So it's plural, it's the third person plural, so we don't need to add s. It's just enjoy table tennis and don't like baseball. Okay, so let's look at question 9. So we can see the English sentence, we've got I something something every evening by running 3 miles. Okay, so if we look over at the Korean sentence on the left, we can see every evening by running 3 miles. That's the first part of the Korean sentence you got there. 나는 매일 저녁 3마일씩 달리는 유산소 운동을 한다. So the part that is missing in the English sentence is the last part of the Korean sentence. 유산소 운동을 한다. So you have to think, what is this in English? How can we say this last part of the Korean sentence in English? Okay, so let's look at the answer to number 9. So we can write, I do cardio every evening by running 3 miles. So there in the Korean word, it's 유산소 운동을 한다. In English, that's do cardio. Okay, and there the subject is I, which is the first person singular. So we don't need to add s or es, we can just say, I do cardio. Okay, so let's look at question 10. Okay, on the right there we've got, I really something something. I'm good at it. Okay, looking at the Korean sentence on the left, we've got 나는 배를 정말 좋아한다. 나는 그것을 잘한다. So you can see the words missing from the English on the right have the same meaning as 배구 and 좋아한다. So we have to think, how can we express this in English? Okay, so let's look at questions 11 and 12. So here we've got the English sentence, I something something, but he something it. So we've got 3 missing words. Looking at the Korean sentence, we've got 나는 춤추는 것을 사랑하지만 그는 싫어한다. So we can see the missing words from number 11 are have the same meaning as 춤추는 것을 사랑하지만, and number 12 has the same meaning as 싫어한다. Okay, so number 11, remember in English it's verb object. Right, so in Korean it's 춤추는 것을 사랑하지만, but in English it will be the other way around, right? The verb before the object. Okay, and for both 11 and 12, we need to look at the subject in each case. Right, so number 11, the subject is I. So it's the first person singular. Okay, whereas number 12, the subject of that part of the sentence is he. Right, so with he or she, the third person singular, we make the verb differently. Right, so make sure you make the verb correctly for question 12. Okay, so let's look at the answers for questions 11 and 12. So question 11, got I something something, but he, and question 12, something it. So 11 there, we need to fill it in with something with the same meaning as 춤추는 것을 사랑한다. So we can fill that in with I love dance. Okay, the next bit then, but he hates it. Right, 싫어한다, the meaning 싫어한다, he hates it. So number 11 there, I love dance. This I there is the first person singular. So there's no need to add s, so it's just love. I love dance. Okay, but then number 12, the subject is different. Right, number 12, the subject is he. Right, third person singular. So there we do have to add s to the verb hate. So it's I love dance, but he hates it. 나는 춤추는 것을 사랑하지만 그는 싫어한다. Let's move on to question 13. Got the English sentence, we something something basketball. Looking at the Korean sentence on the left, we've got 우리는 농구를 견딜 수 없다. Okay, so we basketball, that's in the Korean, 우리는 and 농구. Okay, so obviously the missing bit, the gap fill is 견딜 수 없다. So we have to think, how can we express this in English? Let's look at the answer for question 13. So we had we something something basketball. So we have to fill it in with the meaning of 견딜 수 없다. So we can write we can't stand basketball. We can't stand. So can't stand means the same thing as 견딜 수 없다 or 참을 수 없다. Okay. Here can is always conjugated the same way, right? So it doesn't change according to subject. Right? Because we say I can, you can, he or she can, we can, they can. Right? So the negative is just not, or in this case N apostrophe T after that. So I can't, you can't, he or she can't, we can't. Let's look at question 14. So we've got the sentence on the right in English, Alex and I, in 3 gaps, volleyball. Okay, on the left we have the Korean sentence, 알렉스와 나는 배구에 관심이 있다. So for parts of the Korean sentence already in English on the right, 알렉스와 나는 배구. Okay, so the missing part of the English sentence is the last part of the Korean sentence. Right, so 무엇에 관심이 있다. Okay, so we have to put this into English. So, bit of a hint, we make this expression using the verb be. Right, and the subject there is going to be the first person plural. Right, because you've got Alex and I. So the speaker is included and also one other person, in this case Alex. So that makes it the first person plural. Okay, so try to put this sentence into English. Okay, so looking again at question 14, how do we translate this phrase 무엇에 관심이 있다 into English? Right, so we use the phrase be interested in. Okay, so using the verb be. So we can make the phrase Alex and I are interested. Alex and I are interested in volleyball. Okay, because the Alex and I, it's the first person plural, so it's just like we. So we say we are interested, so Alex and I are interested in volleyball. I am, you are, he or she is, we are. They are. So we are, Alex and I are interested in volleyball. 알렉스와 나는 배구에 관심이 있다. Okay, so let's have a look at question 15. So here we've got she and 2 gaps. In the Korean we've got 그녀는 요가를 싫어한다. So obviously everything except for she we need to translate into English. Basically 요가를 싫어한다 we need to put into English. So got to remember she, right? She is our third person singular. Right, so subject is third person singular, and don't forget in English it's the verb that comes before the object. So subject, verb, object. 요가를 싫어한다. So you need to put this into English. Okay, so let's have a look at what we should write for question 15. So we saw there we've got she and two gaps, so the subject she and two gaps. So the Korean there, we've got 그녀는 요가를 싫어한다. So everything except the subject there, 요가를 싫어한다, we have to translate it into English. So we can make the phrase she hates yoga. So changing the order there, for English it has to be subject, verb, object. So subject she, verb hates, and the object yoga. So with the conjugation of hate, we say I hate, you hate, he or she hates, we hate, they hate. So third person singular there, hates, so we have to add s, so she hates yoga. Sometimes it can be hard to tell when we should use the verbs do, go, and play. We use all three of these verbs when talking about different activities and hobbies we enjoy. But when exactly should you use them? Let's take a look. We use the verb go with outdoor activities where we usually have to go somewhere to do them. That's why we say go biking, go running, go snowboarding, go mountain climbing, that kind of thing. So activities where you usually have to go somewhere, so you have to go outside to do them, we use the verb go. We use do often with activities that are not usually, or at least not always, outside. Some of these activities we usually do inside, if not at home. So examples are do a puzzle, do judo, do yoga, do cardio. We use the verb play to talk about a few different kinds of activities. We use play when we talk about making music. This can be making music with an instrument, like to play guitar or play piano. Or it can be used to talk about playing music that is already recorded. You can play a CD or play an MP3. We use play to talk about games. You can play chess or play video games. Finally, we also use play to talk about sports, especially sports using a ball or team sports. For example, you might play basketball or play tennis or play baseball. So these are the few different ways that we use the verb play to talk about the activities we enjoy.